Hello, I'm Essay, your AI essayist. Please note that all content, audio and video in this presentation are AI generated. As AI can sometimes produce inaccuracies, I encourage you to verify any factual information presented. With that in mind, let's begin.
Yuval Noah Harari's Sapiens, A Brief History of Humankind represents a watershed moment in the popularization of academic thought, a work that achieved a cultural ubiquity rarely seen outside of fiction. Its appearance in 2005 and its subsequent English translation marked the arrival of a new form of grand historical narrative, one that seamlessly integrated the deep past of evolutionary biology with the broad currents of human civilization. The book's phenomenal success invites rigorous academic scrutiny, compelling us to dissect the architecture of its arguments and its intellectual foundations. The profound impact of Sapiens stems from its masterful synthesis of big history, cognitive science, and a provocative philosophical framework, all structured around three pivotal revolutions. Its power is located in its compelling narrative and its unsettling questions about human progress and identity, qualities that simultaneously explain its popular appeal and its vulnerability to scholarly critique. An examination of its intellectual lineage, its core theoretical contributions, its reception among specialists, its lasting influence on public discourse reveals a work whose significance is as complex and debated as the history it seeks to The conceptual framework of Sapiens stands upon the intellectual foundations laid by previous generations of macrohistorians and interdisciplinary thinkers. Harari's project is a direct inheritor of the ambition exemplified by Jared Diamond's 1997 work, Guns, Germs, and Steel. From Diamond, Harari borrows the audacious goal of answering a single, immense question about the trajectory of human history, employing biological and geographical determinants to explain vast historical patterns. Diamond's work provided a powerful template for using the sciences to illuminate the humanities, a method Harari refines and expands. Equally important is the legacy of global historians like William H. McNeill, whose 1963 classic, The Rise of the West, championed a vision of history as a web of interconnected cultures, moving beyond the siloed, civilization-specific studies that had long dominated the discipline. Harari adopts this global perspective, treating Homo sapiens as a single biological unit whose story unfolds on a planetary stage. Into this grand historical structure, he infuses insights from cognitive and evolutionary science, echoing the genocide perspective of Richard Dawkins and the explorations of human irrationality pioneered by psychologists like Daniel Kahneman. Harari's unique contribution was to weld these disparate fields into a coherent narrative aimed at solving a central mystery: how an unremarkable African ape, once a marginal figure in the Middle Pleistocene food chain, ascended to become the planet's ultimate master. The keystone of Harari's entire intellectual edifice is his theory of the cognitive revolution. He posits that approximately 70,000 years ago, a mutation in the sapiens brain enabled a revolutionary new form of language. This was a form of communication that permitted the discussion of entities with low physical reality. These concepts, which Harari terms fictions or imagined realities, include gods, spirits, nations, corporations, laws, and human rights. This capacity for abstract thought is, in his formulation, the singular advantage that propelled Homo sapiens past all competitors, including the physically more robust Neanderthals. The mechanism for this success is larger scale, flexible cooperation. While many social species cooperate, their ability is constrained either by the need for intimate acquaintance, as seen in chimpanzee troops, or by rigid genetic imperatives, as with Aunt Connolly's Sapiens. By contrast, could unite millions of strangers under the banner of a shared belief. A soldier fights for his country, a concept he will never see in its entirety. A trader accepts a piece of paper in exchange for goods because of a collective faith in its value. A lawyer operates within a legal system built entirely on abstract principles. Harari's analysis of the Peugeot Corporation as a legal fiction, a powerful entity existing solely in the collective imagination, serves as a quintessential example of this principle. This framework collapses the distinction between the sacred and the profane, a nation-state and a religious creed, a dollar bill and a divine mandate, all are powerful fictions that organize human society. Having established the engine of Sapiens' rise, Harari proceeds to re-evaluate the subsequent milestones of human history through a uniquely critical lens. His treatment of the agricultural revolution is perhaps his most famous and iconoclastic argument. He labels this pivotal transition history's biggest fraud. The conventional telling presents agriculture as a great leap forward, the foundation of settled civilization and progress. Harari inverts this narrative by shifting the metric of success from the collective species to the individual human. From this vantage point, the advent of farming was a catastrophe. It introduced a less varied and nutritious diet, demanded far more arduous labor, fostered epidemic diseases through dense settlement, and created the stark social hierarchies and exploitation that were absent in most forager bands. In a memorable and witty reversal, Harari suggests that wheat, rice, and potatoes were the true victors of this revolution, domesticating Homo sapiens to serve their own reproductive ends. A similar paradigm shift characterizes his analysis of the scientific revolution. Its defining feature, he argues, was the widespread admission of ignorance. Pre-modern systems of knowledge, be they religious or philosophical, were typically comprehensive, offering answers to all fundamental questions. Modern science, conversely, begins with the Latin term ignoramus, we do to know, and this acknowledgement fuels a relentless quest for new knowledge through empirical observation and mathematical modelling. Harari then brilliantly connects this new way of thinking to the twin forces of European imperialism and capitalism, forming what he presents as a self-reinforcing feedback loop. The pursuit of scientific knowledge became inseparable from the pursuit of geopolitical power and economic profit. James Cook's voyages of discovery were simultaneously missions of scientific inquiry and imperial expansion, financed by a burgeoning capitalist system that thrived on future growth and investment. This potent triumvirate of science, empire, and capital, born from the discovery of ignorance, provided the ideological and material fuel for Europe's global ascendancy. For all its narrative power and popular acclaim, Sapiens has faced considerable scrutiny from the academic community. Specialists across numerous fields, from archaeology and anthropology to economics and theology, have voiced reservations about the book's sweeping generalizations. The grand, unified narrative Harari constructs is achieved, of necessity, by sanding down the complex textures, debates, and nuances that define these individual disciplines. His portrayal of pre-agricultural foragers as living in a state of primitive affluence, for instance, is a simplification of a highly varied and debated archaeological record. Likewise, his depiction of the agricultural transition as a singular, universally negative event overlooks the regional diversity and complex motivations behind this profound shift in human subsistence. A persistent critique concerns the book's undertone of teleological determinism. By focusing on the inexorable march of fictions, capitalism, and scientific conquest, the narrative can appear to diminish the roles of contingency, cultural choice, and individual agency in shaping the past. History unfolds as a process driven by large, impersonal forces, a story whose outcome feels almost preordained. Furthermore, the central analytical tool of fiction, while brilliantly effective as a rhetorical device, can function as a philosophically blunt instrument. By categorizing religious belief, legal codes, human rights, and corporate charters under the same conceptual umbrella, Harari risks a form of analytical flattening. This reductionism troubles scholars who dedicate their careers to understanding the profound and distinct ways these different imagined orders shape human experience, meaning, and morality. The work is a masterpiece of synthesis, yet it is a synthesis built almost entirely upon the primary research of others, a fact that positions Harari as a masterful interpreter over an archival historian. The legacy of Sapiens is undeniable, extending far beyond the halls of academia to reshape the landscape of public intellectual discourse. The book has furnished a vast global readership with a powerful, accessible, and coherent framework for contemplating the entirety of the human story. It has become a cultural touchstone. Its concepts and terminology invoked by world leaders, tech innovators, and artists seeking to frame contemporary challenges within a deep historical context. Within the literary world, it has revitalized and become the leading exemplar of the big history genre, inspiring a new wave of authors to attempt similarly ambitious, interdisciplinary syntheses. The book found a particularly receptive audience in the technological epicenters of Silicon Valley. Its focus on information processing, data networks, and the malleability of human nature resonated deeply with a culture preoccupied with algorithms, artificial intelligence, and the future evolution of the species. This reception highlights the book's capacity to speak directly to modern anxieties and aspirations. For Harari himself, Sapiens served as the foundational text for a broader project, leading to his subsequent works, Homo Deus, A Brief History of Tomorrow and 21 Lessons for the 21st Century. This trilogy extends his analytical lens from the deep past to the speculative future and the turbulent present, solidifying his position as one of the 21st century's most influential public intellectuals. In conclusion, Sapiens, A Brief History of Humankind stands as a monumental achievement in narrative synthesis. Its extraordinary power derives from its ambitious scope, its unforgettable conceptual hooks, cognitive revolution, the great agricultural fraud, the discovery of ignorance, and its consistently provocative philosophical stance. Its ultimate value resides less in the originality of its research and more in its unparalleled ability to weave the disparate threads of science and the humanities into a single, compelling, and profoundly challenging tapestry. The work is a paradox, a history critiqued by specialists for its glossing of complexity, yet celebrated by a global audience for the breathtaking clarity those same generalizations afford. It forces a deep reflection upon the very nature of history, progress, and the fictions we construct to make sense of our existence. In the end, Sapiens is a powerful testament to its own central thesis, demonstrating that nothing is more potent in shaping our collective understanding of the world than a grand, well-told story.
We really appreciate you tuning in to this AI-powered presentation. Our goal is to push the boundaries of AI in content creation, and your input is invaluable. If there's a particular subject you'd like to see us tackle next, or if you have suggestions on how we could fine-tune our AI's creative prompts, please don't hesitate to leave your ideas in the comments section. We're excited to bring you more unique content very soon.